guys, I'm Stephanie Weaver, fine art artist, and in the video that you're about to see, I'm going to show you step by step on how to paint a cute little painting. And in that painting, and in the course, I'm actually giving it to you for free for 5 days. Just 5 days. Now, if you are motivated, you can get this done in 5 days. If you're not motivated, then I recommend the unlimited access video, in which case it's professionally edited. I look better than this. So it's professionally edited and has lots of little pop-ups and downloadables and things that could help you along your process so that you can learn, paint, repeat. So that's what I'm really big on, is learn, paint, repeat, because the more you do something, the better you get at it. Without further delay, let's just go ahead and start the free access video. Have fun, enjoy your painting. So I plan to use just about these 4 brushes. This is kind of an old one that I've had. It's a Grumbacher Filbert. And the reason why I use this is I'm going to use it in the very beginning of the painting and scrub in the colors. So this is synthetic. I've ruined the brush. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I've had this thing for like 17 years. So it still works, but I'm just going to scrub it in. It used to look a lot better than this, but as you can see here, it's gotten a lot of good wear and tear on it. So it's still usable. This is a mop brush. I'm going to use this to blend the colors nicely together. And these two are part of a series of Robert Simmons. These are ones that I recommend and have links to. And these two are synthetic. So today I'm really just using the synthetic paintbrushes. Okay. And then of course we have a palette knife. The palette knife we're going to use for some of the final stages of this painting, which is the scumbling, and we're going to use it to move the hair on the otter. Okay, I'm going to kind of put that to the side. So I've already set up my palette here. I have titanium white. I have it separated from everything else because I want to make sure that it's not contaminated, and I purposely mix it in the middle. Black, you can use Mars Black, Lamp Black, whichever one you like. Ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, sap green, alizarin crimson, burnt umber, burnt sienna, cadmium orange, yellow ochre, cadmium yellow medium. And this is my standard palette. Go ahead and set up your palette and get ready to start. Let's just go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you how I mix these things. First, we're going to create our dark green because, like with our paintings, we're going to start from dark and move to light. So I'm going to go ahead and mix my dark green mix. So to do that, I'm first going to grab some of the sap green, and it is about a coffee bean size. Next, I'm going to grab my French ultramarine blue, about a half a coffee bean size. I'm going to grab some paper towel because I do want to wipe off my palette knife in between to make sure that I keep my colors pretty clean up here. So now I'm going to add about a pinhead size of the burnt umber. Okay. Now notice the nice 3 shades right there. I'm going to gently mix them together. I'm not going to add any medium yet. The mediums that we're going to be using are going to help the paint dry. All of these paints already have a medium in them called linseed oil that we're just using and manipulating. All right, so I'm going to gently mix that together. That is a nice dark green mix. Okay, and I'm going to clean my palette knife. Next, we're going to mix a dark brown mix. So I'm going to take a coffee bean size of this burnt umber, about a pinhead of black, and a pinhead of cad orange. Mix those together. One of the things I really love about mixing paint is it really starts to get you into what am I going to be painting, how am I going to be painting it, and it starts shifting your brain over into that creative side. Next, we're going to mix our light greens. I'm going to take some more of this sap green, and it looks like I need to put more on my palette here. So that's about a coffee bean size. And next I'm going to grab some cadmium yellow medium, about a half of a coffee bean. And a quarter coffee bean of cobalt blue. So this is going to be a warm green right here. It's because cobalt blue and cadmium yellow medium are both warm colors. Look how pretty that is. Nice. Okay, now we're going to move a little bit into some browns here. We've already got our dark brown. Now we're going to make a dark rust mix. And this is what we see in the otter's face. So I'm going to grab a coffee bean size amount of burnt sienna. Coffee bean, burnt sienna. Half a coffee bean of cadmium orange. And a quarter and a half coffee bean of yellow ochre. One of the most popular questions that I get is, how do I know what colors to mix? And that's where the color wheel comes into handy, as well as just lots and lots of practice. The color wheel comes in handy because I know that the color opposite side of the color wheel will help calm an existing color. So for example here, if I were to add blue to this orange, it's going to calm the orange down. But if I add too much blue, it's going to turn it into a gray, and that's how the mud starts to happen. That's another question that I have a lot is, why does my paints look like mud? And that is because you're mixing the opposite color on the color wheel, the complementary color. All right, now I'm going to make a lighter portion of this. So I'm going to take a portion of this, and that's about half a coffee bean size right there. And I'm going to add a coffee bean size of the yellow ochre. Okay, and mix those together. Now we're going to make our light rust. So I'm going to take a portion of this medium color rust, bring it off to the side, and I'm going to add 2 coffee beans of titanium white. And lastly, we're going to add an accent blue color. Why is it an accent? Because one, blue looks great with browns. It is a complementary color of oranges. So, and then plus with the otter, I can imagine the sky reflecting off the otter, and that's going to give it a blue color. So I am going to take a little bit of this light green mixture, just about a quarter of a coffee bean right there. half of a coffee bean of cobalt blue. And a half coffee bean of titanium white. And mix those together. The other thing to kind of notice about how I'm mixing my colors, I push the paint, flatten my palette knife, push the paint, flatten the palette knife, push the paint, flatten the palette knife. So if you've ever kind of, oftentimes I see students, they're kind of poking at it like this. That is a not very effective way of mixing it. It will mix it, but it takes longer. So I try and keep your paint in nice, neat little piles. Okay. All right, now the other thing that you'll notice is I have them nice and organized. The reason why I do this is because now that I've mixed them, I want to be able to quickly reference and move quickly in my painting. But you'll notice that I have them in an order. So it's dark, medium, light, dark, medium, light. And the reason for that is I'm able to quickly pull and go in the direction that I need to go in. I also continue to keep my standard palette up here because even though I've made these colors pre-mixed, I'm still going to reach up here and pull some additional colors into the basic color that I see. And you are also going to pull additional colors that you see because we all see colors differently. Okay, so now that we've got this set up, I want you to go ahead and do the same. Mix your colors. And again, if you didn't take notes, don't sweat it. I have this handy little guide here that talks about how to mix your colors. Okay, so let's pause and get set up. So there's a couple mediums that we're going to look at. Typically you see me use Kalkan. Kalkan is a fast drying medium. It will actually dry within about 24 hours. It's great for these one-day type of paintings. I'm actually going to use this Kalkan Light today. Kalkan Light, what it does, essentially the same thing as Kalkan, fast drying, but the difference is it's going to allow you to be able to see the brush strokes. Because this painting is a lot of movement, I think it's important to see the brush strokes. So that's why I'm going to use Kalkan Light today. In addition to that, for the end of the painting, I'm going to be using, I should be talking into this microphone over here, shouldn't I?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that, but I didn't want to interrupt your take.
All right.
Did you want to put the GoPro on? Do you want to get that shot?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah? Okay. Let me pause for just a second here.
Okay. So, typically what I do is I use Kalkan. And in Kalkan, it is a fast drying medium. It will help things dry within like 24 hours. That's typically what I use. Today what we're going to use is Kalkan Light. It's very much like Kalkan, except that it will keep the brush strokes. And that was kind of important to me because when I look at my painting, I know there's movement. There's movement in the water, and I want to be able to express that through my brush strokes. So today I'm going to use Kalkan Light. In addition to that medium, I'm going to be using solvent-free gel. What this does is it gets that texture that we're going to be using to create the hairs on the otter. And what's really neat about this, you can do that with your normal paint, create those hairs and such, but it'll take forever to dry. If I use the solvent-free gel, it dries faster. Okay. In addition to that, I have my Gumsol. Gumsol will help also to dry. Gumsol will also help make things dry faster. All right, so first thing we're going to do with our painting is we are going to put on an underpainting first. So I'm going to get some of my mediums ready. All right. So to get my initial underpainting, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the whole canvas with one color. What that does is two things for your brain. Number one, it tells your brain, hey, I'm going to put paint on this thing. and you kind of get over that worry of getting paint on it. Secondly, it will add an initial underpainting color to it, so even if I don't cover the entire painting, it's still going to have paint on it. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my Gumsol and I'm thinning out my paint very, very thin, so you can see how thin that is. I can actually see through my panel. Okay, and I'm going to just slop that on there. I'm picking a burnt sienna because it's nice and warm, and what I see in his face is a nice warm color. There's no rhyme to reason how I'm laying down my strokes. Just put it on there. And you'll notice that I'm only using Gumsol. Again, that's going to help things dry faster.
So if you deliver a line of audio that's incredibly important, you want to deliver it in between strokes. So it's not picking up that sound.
Okay. And that sound. All right, now what I'm going to actually do is wipe this off. The reason why I'm wiping it off is that paint layer is pretty wet, and all I'm doing is really just covering up that canvas. All right, there you go. Now we can get started. Okay, with every one of my paintings, I generally start out pretty tight, regardless of whether I cover the whole thing. So I always start with the eyes first and then follow it with the darks that I see. So we're going to start with his eyes first. And I'm actually just grabbing some of the black and adding the little dark areas, the darkest of darks that I see in his eyes. Just like that. Then I'm going to grab this first mix that we made, the dark green mix. I'm going to put that in his eyes. And because I laid that dark color in there first, it's going to start pulling in some of that color and nicely blend it in. There he goes. See, you can already see the sparkle in his eyes. I am avoiding that sparkle spot. Okay. Feel pretty good about that. So next I'm actually going to lay in all the darks. And I'm going to go back to my big brush. Cleaning off just a little bit. Grabbing some of that Kalkan light. And I'm going to start with my dark green mix here. I'm going to start with my background. And you'll notice that it's pretty transparent. That's a couple things happening there. That's actually the Kalkan light. It's keeping things pretty transparent and loose, because we're going to be painting over this thing at least twice. If I need to do the audio, like...
No, we'll see how it comes out.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Don't stress about it.
Okay, I'm not.
If you're going to pause for a large piece, if you could just say pause, and I'll know that I can make the motion move around a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm trying not to move to interrupt any guy.
Oh, okay.
And you can just say, like, I'm going to say something. So I'm moving around, and I'll just stop moving for a second.
Okay, I'm going to say something. So now I'm going to grab some of this dark brown mix, and I'm going to start laying in those dark browns that I see around him. Again, notice there's a lot of brush strokes here, and that's totally fine. Don't stress out about it. We're going to go back over it again. So with this brown, I'm just focusing on where I see those darks. And if you purchased one of my pre-drawn canvases, it kind of makes it a little bit easier on you, I think. remember that you can actually grab any of these colors that you have on your standard palette and bring it into the color mixes that you created. Remember, all you're doing is adding in the darks. Okay, at this point I want you to go ahead and pause your video and paint in the darks that you see, the dark green in the background, your browns and your blacks and your eyes. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add in our medium tones. So I'm going to start with his face, build forward, and cover everything else in here. And then you're going to see me blend a little bit. Alright, so I'm going to grab some of this rust color, just a touch of the Kalkan light. And I think I'm going to grab a little bit of this brown to go with it.